Welcome to this webinar called From Field to Market, a Vision for a Resilient European Sunflower Sector. My name is Pierre Compère, and I'm really glad to be the moderator for this webinar. We're going to talk about sunflower, because with climate change, yields could fall by up to 50% in some parts of Europe by 2050. The good news is that innovation is blooming, notably thanks to the HelEx European program, a European-funded collaborative research program, and we are here to talk about it. I'll be moderating the discussion between experts we've invited to share their views on what's at stake from their perspective. So please welcome Cédric Dufour from Saipol, Federico Bock from Syngenta, Sylvain Hypolite from Agro, and Nicolas Langlade from INRAE. And they will, thanks to them, we'll have a understanding of challenges they are facing throughout the sunflower value chain, from the industry to the seed companies. And we'll understand what's to expect from HelEx in this matter, because you'll see that this program will give some results to each stakeholder and to the civil society, beekeepers and consumers as well. You'll be able to address them questions by writing throughout the webinar, and thanks to the dedicated tab, and I'll be your spokesperson. But before starting, just a quick question before we get started. There you go. Given climate change, is sunflower a crop for the future in your, according to you, in current production areas? Yes. All we need to do is change cultivation practices. Yes, but it's subject to new varieties. No, sunflower will not be able to adapt everywhere, or no, competition with other crops will be too strong. Feel free to share your votes if you're able to. I can see your voting, so let's take a minute to collect your response. So we're about 50 connected this morning. I'm gonna wait a bit longer to collect your replies. So 60% of you have voted. So once again, given climate change, according to you, is sunflower a crop for the future in current production areas? Yes, maybe, or no. 70% have voted. Come on, let's take a few seconds to get your replies. Okay, we have 84% of you that have voted. So let's have a look on the results. I hope you can see the results. So 60% are expected new varieties to adapt sunflower to climate change. That's a good point, because we're going to talk about it all this morning. Let's get back to the presentation, and but before that, a quick word on the HelEx program. The objective is facing climate change, is to produce a new generation of sunflowers. So HelEx, as I said before, is a European funded collaborative research program lasting 4 years, mobilizing 18 partners from all over the world, with a budget of 5.5 million euros. And 3 pillars are composing this program. First pillar, yield and seed quality. Second, ecosystem services. And the idea is to generate impact as well. So let's give the floor to Cédric Dufour, Innovation Manager as in Saipol. Let's start with him. Welcome, Cédric.
Hello.
Everything is working great. A quick word on Saipol before taking a look on your challenges.
Okay. So thanks a lot. I'm very happy to be here today, this morning. Saipol is a French company founded in 1983. It's a subsidiary of Agro Group, and we ensure the first transformation of oil seeds. So mainly rape seeds and sunflower. 3 million tons of oilseed crushed per year, and we purchase the seeds on the French market with French agricultural cooperatives, traders, and also from international players. We are more than 60 people now in France. Our product, so everything starts from sunflower on a rapeseed seeds, and then we're doing the crushing. So especially for sunflower, the main products we are going to talk about is vegetable oil for the food market, and also the meal.
So how the market is organized?
Yeah. So I think everybody here in the webinar, I think know pretty well the market, but just to give us some big figures. The market is mainly driven by two countries, Ukraine, Russia, and then followed by the EU. In the EU, you can see the main oilseed producers. So here it's rapeseed, sunflower, on soybean, and of course the main producers in the EU are France, Hungary, and on the Black Sea area, Romania, especially. Then you have a small countries or smaller players in the south of Europe. In terms of
dynamic, how the market is organized, and how do you explain the market dynamics?
Yeah, so the market is mainly driven by the food, by the oil for the food industry, and it's the oil which is the key driver of the price. The demand for food is rather stable compared to other markets. So the market prices are mainly driven by the supply. So here, sorry, it's in French. You can see on the right side, on the top, the price for several oilseeds. So you can notice of course in 2022 the very high prices due to the war in Ukraine, and the prices decrease once the logistic grain has been solved on the Black Sea. Something also that can be noticed in 2019 on the HelEx sunflower. So the HelEx sunflower is something rather specific to France. Also, some other countries are growing olive sunflower, but in France it's in the main sunflower. You can see that the price immediately answer to follow a shortage in the supply. Yeah. So market mainly driven by food market.
Can we say that it's
Of course,
commodity market?
Yes, it's a commodity market. Yeah, no, it's a commodity market. For the maybe just one more point on the market. On the market, we and especially in the context of HelEx project on global change. I don't know if you want to go that after on the drivers of the market.
As you wish. Let's go.
Okay. Yeah. Now, what is a main driver on the market is of course the origin of the supply per country, and as we have seen, there's not so many countries mainly located in North Hemisphere. Argentina is the main player in the South Hemisphere. So of course the weather has a huge impact on the market. If you have a very strong heat waves or drought in Black Sea area, it has a huge impact on the volumes. Last year in France, for us to remember that we can have also the opposite due to climate change, especially in Western Europe and in France. So a lot of rainfalls that have a huge impact on sunflower quality. Yeah, and also maybe what we in the sunflower market we have very few biofuels compared to rapeseed, for example. So
non-food markets are really small, you reckon, in comparison to the food market? That's the main driver.
Yes, exactly, and it's much more easy to do some substitutions of products on the non-food market.
A quick word on energy issues you're facing at an industrial level.
Yeah, it's just a quick word because you are talking about the shell or the hulls, sorry, the hulls on the hulling the sunflower seeds. Of course, it's a co-product that now we are using in our plants for the steam, and it's a very nice co-product to decrease the GAS impact of the crushing, on top of allowing to have a higher protein content in the meal.
Mm-hmm.
So here you can see the Saipol's plant in France, and I think the next slide is some figures about the steam production in the plant. So it's good for our scope 1, 2.
To decrease your gas emissions, obviously. So you're interested in the dehullability character of varieties, and I keep in mind that you said that we need more oil in the future, hence the need for new varieties adapted to climate change. What are the main challenges you address to your upstream partners in the seed sector, especially?
The main challenge is go with Nicolas, but the main challenges for us is to the availability of the supply. So I give the floor to those who are going to have the answers.
To the sustainability of the supply. is one of the main challenges you address to your upstream partners.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. The sustainability, yes, but we at Saipol we are looking at let's say at a global scale. So not only sunflower, but sunflower and rapeseed, food and non-food market, and it's a kind of supply by itself, growing under a sustainability certificate or
Right. We're talking about the traced sector and not only a transversal approach beyond the biofuel market alone.
Yes.
Isn't it? Let's give the floor to maybe now Nicolas Langlade. Nicolas, you're research director at INRAE. You're the HelEx coordinator. Thanks, Cédric. Maybe you can give us a quick outlook on what's to expect from HelEx in regards of the challenges explained by Cédric.
Yeah, thank you, Pierre and Cédric for this introduction. So I shall very quickly introduce the role of INRAE in this sunflower research and how where we stand now with this HelEx project. So yeah, INRAE is as most of you know, I'm sure, a research institute involved into agriculture, food, and environment. And we are involved since decades in the research on sunflower, and since 15 years now, there has been a strong research team in Toulouse that is coordinating large public-private projects to help this crop in particular to the climate change challenges. So in HelEx, we take on these efforts, these long-term efforts, and on different consortia, especially the Sunrise Consortium, a French large genomic project, and the International Sunflower Consortium that is bringing together US and Canadian teams, especially on the academic levels, and all the breeding companies on sunflower. And so in HelEx, we built this project to really bring all this community together and try to aggregate also some institutes from the Netherlands, Germany, Serbia. So we have a really strong international effort to tackle this. So we've seen the challenges and with the climate change and the value of the crop with oil. And so what we really aim on this technological aspects for sunflower in HelEx is to understand the genetic control for oil composition, so oil content. So here we talk general oil content, but we also characterize the profiles with oleic and linoleic acid profiles, and try to understand which gene control this, validate results we had in previous project on this. So we have the tools to know how the climate impacts this oil content and the oil yield, since we've seen this is really the value of the crop. And one thing that we didn't work really at INRAE before on the genetic level, but more on the technological level, so is about the protein. So drought in particular affects mainly the oil concentration in the field and the oil yield, and a bit less the protein content. But we're studying how this heat and drought impact the protein content in the seeds. So and try to go further into the quality, describe if the albumins, globulins, different type of proteins, if they are affected differently by drought and heat.
And the objective is to maintain the rate even in poor condition, I guess. Cédric talked about the impact of dehullability on their process. How do you address this question?
Yes, so this is here we need we in the project in the HelEx project itself we really work on the protein concentration in the seed really, and so as Cédric said, the protein after the trituration and extraction of oil is in the meal that will be used normally for animal as an animal feed. But we are trying to develop the tools to make it available also for human consumption proteins and concentrate these proteins. And so so here we have a side project also that is funded by the French government via the Institut Carnot, where we are studying together the protein concentration and the dehullability. So so where we want to better understand the drivers of this dehullability. So so the fact that the hull breaks and you can separate more efficiently the seed inside and the hull, and so have a meal that is more concentrated in protein. So here we're in the process with the HelEx and this side project to develop an experimental dehuller. That is suitable for research, so it's on small scale with many samples to process, but very small amounts of seeds. And we're developing this, and this is a target to improve the concentration of the meal.
So thanks for this quick outlook on genetic control on all protein quantity and quality, and as well as the dehullability that is quite important for the industrial sector. So after the crushing industry, let's continue upstream and let's have a look on the farming side of things with Sylvain. Thank you, Nicolas. Sylvain, he works at Agro. Sylvain Hypolite, Research and Innovation Manager at Agro that federate 1,200 farmers in the south of France, isn't it?
Yes, is it? So, hello, thank you for this invitation. Yes, Sylvain Hypolite. I'm a French consultant in agronomy, working for Agro. Yes, like you said, 12,000 farmers in the southwestern part of France. Like you see the green parts on the map. Agrodoc is a group of farmers. We are organized in the CETA. CETA is a French acronym, but it's kind of local groups of farmers working together to improve their way of cultivate, improve their practices on the technical, economical, commercial point of view. All these things, and I lead a team of 15 consulting engineers to help farmers in this goal. So
How big
our
is sunflower acreage?
Yeah, they crop around 30,000 hectares of sunflower, and the total surface is about 150,000 hectares. So it's 1/6 and between 1/6 and 1/5 of the area.
And why this crop important from an agronomic point of view?
Yeah, it's a long time in southwestern France that sunflower is important crop. If some of you knows region like Lauragais and Gers, very small and typical region, it used to be the 2 years rotation durum wheat sunflower. So in some part it's 50% of the area crop with sunflower. So it used to be, and it's still a strategic crop in the rotation, and of course in the value chain, because it's well adapted for our soil and our climate, hot and quite dry climate, of course. And I would say it's important part. It's a key role in a low input system in southwestern France. The yield are not very high, like it could be the northern part of France, for example. So our producers, sorry, they have to be like how can I say? They have to make effort to reduce the
Input.
amount of input in economical point of view, and so for this reason, sunflower is of course an important crop.
Mm. And what about if we have a look on the agronomic significance of sunflower?
Yeah, we like I said, we have a lot of durum wheat, winter wheat, like high quality wheat. So we have to cut the rotation, of course, and naturally, sunflower is a good break crop to cut the winter crop, because it's of course like in Europe it's always a summer crop. So that's the first reason. It fits well with the climate, like I said. As well, it fits with conservation agriculture practices. They are very not very common, but they are improving in southwestern part of France. And if I can say, it's not really adapted in direct drilling, like I mean, really direct drilling without any tillage, but we try to manage in conservation agriculture with minimum tillage or street tillage, like you see in the picture. And so for this region, it's one of the summer crop very adapted to our problematic. I can speak about weed management, of course, to fight against ryegrass, one of the worst problem we have on the winter crops. So that's a point. And like I said, economic efficiency, because the low input system.
Hmm. And how is the dynamic for sunflower production in your area?
So it used to have a lot more of sunflower in the region, but if I take only the 10 past years, sunflower is re-expanding, if I can say it, because it's a robust crop,
Hmm.
because of the market as well, like I said, and unfortunately, because of the decline, the rapeseed and soybean decline due to bugs, insects, yes. And so in this context, sunflower is maybe a bit more adapted to the new challenges, even if years like 2022 with very hot and very dry summer shows that we've got limits for summer crop, of course, but still sunflower is for this reason is re-expanding, if I can say.
So even if you consider sunflower robust facing hot and dry summer, how climate change is already affecting your sunflower crops?
Yeah, the thing is, if 2022 is the normal year, normal summer in the next decades, yeah, we've got a problem, of course, but we've got a problem with other crop as well. So still, I can say that sunflower is again considered as a robust crop. Yes, of course, we talk about water efficiency. It's obvious. In dry areas, we are without irrigation, it's a fact. But even with a few irrigation, it's very relevant to put one or two irrigation or sunflower instead of 10 or 12 on corn, for example. So with a small amount of water, it can save the crop. I can talk about planting adjustment as well. It's pretty much the case in for corn, but it's still the case for sunflower. We are changing our practices and sowing the sunflower earlier and earlier. For example, this year, a lot of sunflower are already sowed, so it's, earlier than the habits. Of course, we need genetic adaptation. We will speak about that, of course, but still, it's a long story of adaptation, and it's not the end. And I would say I would like, sorry, to speak about the critical timing of emergence phase, because for an agronomist and for a farmer, the most difficult thing is to succeed to have a 4 leaves, 6 leaves sunflower regular in the field. And of course, with hot and dry summer, it's very important to have a robust varieties against droughts for in the summer. So after flowering and at this stage, but for farmers nowadays, it's mainly the emergence phase with which is difficult. For example, there are some bugs, some insects in the soil, some how can I say in English, palombe, wood pigeon, birds, wood pigeon. I think it's the word. So that's a point.
I have a question about the effect of heat stress on sunflower production. Is the effect on heat quite sensitive in the flowering period, or all along the cycle?
Yes, I'm not the best specialist for this question, but yeah, of course, for flowering, all the plants are very sensitive during flowering period. But I would say that sunflower maybe is less sensitive than other crops. So yes, we have to improve and find new varieties for very hot summers. But I would say it's not the main. It's not. I'm not saying it's not the main issue, but I would say sunflower have the potential to respond to this to the challenge.
In comparison to other crops, even if you still have genetic needs to adapt your crop to increasing extreme season. Let's have a quick word on your how you adapt your practices to client and market expectations.
Yeah, we used to be very linoleic sunflower for even 5 years ago. We already we still be very linoleic, and Cédric Dufour said the market is more and more oleic. It's right, but until few years, we thought that the oleic varieties would not fit not very well to our way of crop. For agronomic traits for these oleic varieties, like yield, of course, oil content, early vigor, herbicide tolerance. So until 2015, we were very linoleic. But last 5 years, I see that oleic varieties are really improving, and so still for our producer, they are moving more and more oleic. So as you can say in the illustration, and 2025 is again more oleic. So the transition is real, but I have to say that oleic varieties have to improve if I compare with the linoleic reference.
In terms of yield, in terms of vigor?
Yeah, and herbicide tolerance, for example. And when you convert a linoleic variety in oleic variety for disease, for herbicide tolerance, maybe you can lose some yield and some oil content. So I'm assuming the big company. They are working on that, but yeah, maybe it was important to say that.
You've been talking about changing sowing dates. Is it to avoid heat stress on flowering, for example?
We are looking on that. I'm not sure of the answer now. With corn, it's obvious. You plant corn earlier and you're flowering earlier, and it's good. With sunflower, it's not that simple, even with soybean, for example, but we have to work on that. It's ideal.
We'll have a chat about it with Nicolas in a bit. What about the sustainability focus you wanted to make?
Yeah, I'm glad Cédric spoke about the market before, because with Saipol we did a lot of contracts. Our farmers provide of low carbon 2BSVS in the oleos program. It was a good opportunity for our farmers. It's carbon prime, is I can say it. And we are working with Saipol as well now this year for SAF. It's not a big market, of course, but SAF, sustainable aviation fuel. Like he said, it's not mainly do with sunflower, but still it's a market. So I'm assuming we have 400, 500 hectares of SAF contract with Saipol this year.
So a niche market, as you said, sunflower for SAF as catch crop opportunity in order to avoid competition with food production.
Exactly.
What about the how would you describe the perfect sunflower variety or range of varieties?
Yeah, good question. Of course, because I'm very close to farmers, so it's yield and oil content, because it's the main issue, of course, when you produce anything. But in sunflower, especially, the disease are very important. Mildew, for example, Phomopsis, Phoma, all the stuff. So, of course, to have a good yield and oil content, the disease protection is very, very important, especially in 2 years crop rotation. We try to do 4 years, but it's important. We can speak about VTH. I write VTH, sorry, it's in French. So VTH is herbicide tolerant resistant. Yeah, it's not all sunflower, but of course it's an issue for us. Oleic profile, because the market is asking for oleic. And like I said, I would say in my really farming and agronomist point of view, a strong early vigor, because to fit with, for example, conservation agriculture after cover crops, to fight against slug, insects, birds, all the stuff we have. The sunflower have to get fast in the beginning.
It's very clear. Thank you very much, Sylvain. Let's have answers from Nicolas on the challenges you're facing. Nicolas, once again, what kind of results Sylvain can expect from HelEx in regards of his problems, I would say?
Yeah, well, that's really the core of the HelEx project, is to improve the drought and heat tolerance of the varieties. And so for this, we need to keep in mind that there are not only one drought, there are many drought scenarios. And this is what makes it complicated to work, because in some scenarios you need to reduce, for instance, the leaf expansion, and in other scenarios you need more to reduce the transpiration or flower earlier or later. And so this is a complex problem to really design the sunflower ideotypes and which gene allow to make it. So here our idea in HelEx is to use the wild sunflowers from the United States, because sunflower wild origin is mainly basically the US, a bit Canada and Mexico. And here, what is great in the US is that there are many climates, many environments, and so we picked some wild sunflowers from different origins in the desert of California, Arizona, or in the Great Plains of Dakota. So we crossed it to the cultivated sunflower, and now we try to understand which gene. Well, we describe and we find some genes and from the origins of Arizona, or some from Dakota, that provides tolerance through different mechanisms. And this in a nutshell, it's not always the genes that come from the dry lands that are interesting for the cultivated sunflower. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it's more the one that come from wetter part of the US that make the sunflower more tolerant, more productive in cultivated fields. So yeah, this is basically our strategy, is to use this natural variation.
Mhm.
We introgress, we test many things, and we do this in collaboration with the breeding companies. So we do the field trials at INRAE, but mainly in the thanks to Syngenta, Mass Seeds, the INRAE with Limagrain, and
All the partners of the HelEx program.
yeah, the partners, yeah, exactly. And so this is together we see how it is working, and so we also test different sowing dates, and so we do this in southern Spain, in France, in Romania, in Hungary, in Chile. And so yeah, different drought scenarios, heat scenarios, and we try to do this. Yeah.
So the idea is to identify genome regions important for drought resistance as well as heat resistance within wild varieties, and the idea is to transfer these genes to selected varieties. What about gene editing? Is it a tool you're using, or you'd like to use in order to accelerate this process?
Yeah, so of course the genetic transformation, and nowadays the genome editing is used widely on many crops, but not on sunflower until now, because it's complicated to transform in vitro and regenerate. Now this is changing, and there has been some breakthroughs, and so in HelEx we are working mainly with teams in Germany, in Netherlands, and in Serbia. They are developing the tools in vitro transformation to make it available to the European community. Sunflower community, and so this is a methodological development at this stage for sunflower, and we are really strongly participating in it with the help of Berkeley and Vancouver universities. So yes, this is an effort now to make it available, but to know which gene to transfer in using genome editing, you first need to identify them and identify the right version of the gene in the right agricultural practice. So this is where we are more advanced on HelEx, is identifying these genes for drought tolerance and heat tolerance.
So you still don't have the magic wand to create new varieties. What about shorting the cycle? Are you looking for variety that can avoid the heat wave period?
So here, this is one thing to consider, is that this is a public-private and publicly funded research program. So our aim is to work on the topics and the things that are not mastered and working already in the breeding companies, to develop new things and help them. So if the trait or if the tools are already working in the breeding companies. Let them do their job. Here we develop new things. So our idea is to work more on the tolerance. Is because the climate is unpredictable now more and more. When the farmer is sowing, nobody knows if there's going to be a heat wave or cold or etc. And so we are more working on this hypothesis of trying to have a sunflower that will tolerate whatever happens, and make the higher yield and higher stability of oil and protein. So this is more this type of tolerance we're targeting, this tolerance.
Mm. And what about research with the shade or other techniques to protect sunflower from heat?
We for heat stress, to test the heat tolerance, we use two ways. Is to multiply the sites, the experimental sites, and hope, if you want to, that we will have heat waves, such sometimes in Romania, for instance, or in Spain, we have these experimental sites where there are heat waves. But we have also experimental platforms in Toulouse, which we consider as a temperate climate, and where we put heaters on the platforms to specifically heat some plants, and understanding and their physiology and which gene act at which moment. So the two strategies to work on heat tolerance and measure the trace.
Using shades in order to protect crops in the field and to produce electricity at the same time.
Yes, so I agree. Voltaism. We don't do experiments in these experimental sites in HelEx, although this is I think a very promising way of avoiding some climatic problems and stresses, but. No, we don't do this for sunflower in HelEx.
Mm-hmm. Maybe a quick word on the fact that you were talking about wild varieties, and now, if I'm not wrong, you've published the genomes for wild varieties. It's
yes, exactly. So this is well, technically they're not varieties, they're wild ecotypes, so really wild branched and small flowered sunflowers. And so in the HelEx project, the first things we did was to sequence the genomes of these wild sunflowers that are adapted to high altitudes, deserts, etc., and characterize all their genes. There's about 70,000 genes in a sunflower genome, and so we sequenced all of them. We annotated their function, and so we know which gene comes from which region, and so this helps us a lot to develop the tools for breeding.
Great, thank you, Nicolas. You were talking about seed breeders, and luckily we have one with us. Please welcome Federico Bock from Syngenta. Federico, I have a quick question for you. How is climate change prompting you to review your varietal selection process? Do you need to change your process because of climate change?
First of all, thank you for the invitation. It's great to be here with the rest of the panelists. And yeah, I mean, you speak about climate change, but it's not only climate change what is changing. I mean, Sylvain and also describe all the practices that are being changed at the farmer level to try to cope with this climate change. I think it was mentioned the early planting, no-till or minimum till, and all these changes are a challenge to the seed companies that needs to provide hybrids that will perform under these new environmental conditions, but also agronomic practices. So for sure, we need to adapt, and we need to try to do it as soon as possible, because changing breeding targets takes time in order for us to be able to deliver. And also, we have to be very careful when we select which are going to be the breeding targets that we are going to work toward. If we put too many, the risk is that we won't be able to deliver at any of them, or the worst of all is that we will put at risk the yield that is at the end what the farmer needs in order to make a living out of the activity they do. So definitely we pay attention to this climate change, but something that I would like to share today is that climate change is not something that will start to happen in the future at a given moment this time. It's something that have already started to change from the past, and it's evolving into a future condition that is very difficult to predict. I think Nicolas used the words unpredictable, and we need to develop a hybrid that can tolerate whatever happens. And this is very difficult, because if you want to maximize the yield potential, you have to be able to define what is going to be the target environment, and you can deliver a hybrid that will yield the most under these conditions. But if you tell me, okay, 1 year it can be like that, but then the next year it can be completely the opposite or very different, then you need to say, okay, I won't be able to deliver the maximum yield potential in this environment, because now we are talking about two different environments, and this makes the things more complicated to us. But we have some tools in hands that can help us to be able to deliver what every actor in the change is expecting. I'm talking about the agronomists that will recommend the hybrid. I'm talking about the farmers. I'm talking about the industry, but also I'm talking about the society, because sometimes the society is also having some expectations. And sometimes the society can influence also the regulatory environment, and this can also have significant changes. We see that in Europe we are losing year after year some chemical solutions to fight against certain adversities of the crop. It can be diseases, it can be weeds, or it can be parasitic plants or whatever. And then if we don't have the chemical solution anymore, that means that we will need to provide a genetic solution. And that's why we are very happy about a project like HelEx, because I think HelEx will be able to provide us some of these solutions, so that all the seeds company can use them on their breeding programs to be able to progress faster and don't need to compromise too many resources to develop this solution on their own, compromising the possibility to deliver genetic gain. That is what the farmer and the industry is expecting from us.
Beyond yield, do you have new criteria you integrate in your process, such as stability, for instance?
Definitely. I think it's interesting probably to define stability. I think a hybrid that is known as stable is the hybrid that can yield better than competitor hybrids in a wider range of environments. And this is taking us back to the initial concept of the unpredictability of the environment, which means that for sure the importance of the stability in the current and future environments are going to be more important than in the past, when the diversity of environments that the hybrid had to explore in a given geography was much less than what is today or what will be in the future. So definitely stability is going to climb in the ranking of priorities for the breeding companies.
Sylvain talked about early vigor. How do you cope with this problem?
Yeah, I think he spoke about early vigor. He also spoke about earlier planting, and he also spoke about how can we escape from the heat waves by advancing the planting. And I think he also mentioned that is very difficult to predict, and it's absolutely true. If you plant and the temperature is too low, it will be like keeping the sunflower seeds in the warehouse. It won't move for a month, and then will start to grow. And there is a much higher risk to put the plants in the ground and keep them in the warehouse. So for sure there are some limits to these practices, but I think something that could be very interesting to explore is to understand if we can find hybrids that can start to grow at lower temperatures than the hybrids that we have today in the market, because that will for sure help us to escape on these heat waves that come later on in the year, and also will deliver, let's say, the expectation to have a uniform crop at B4, B5 stage, where the possibilities of birds to make damage or insects to make damage are much lower than today. If this period is extended in time, then we extend the period on which we are at the high risk of losing plants, and if we lose plants, we will also lose potential in this specific field. So definitely it is something that I hope HelEx can provide some hints for us to work on, because that is directly connected with the burning need from the growers.
We mentioned seeds, agronomic practices, but what about crop protection, including biologicals and biostimulants? Some of them are genetic dependent. Do you reckon that they could help challenges?
Yeah, in fact, we haven't done much research on genetic bioactive ingredient interaction. For sure, we do it in routine for the herbicide tolerance, because we know that there is diversity, and we have to understand and to secure that when we put a hybrid in the market, we have the expected level of tolerance. That is one thing that we do in routine. But when we move into biostimulants or bioproducts and the interaction of those bioproducts with the different genetics, I think we are just starting to work on that. But as I mentioned before, if synthetic chemical active ingredients are being banned from the market, it's something that we will have to pay attention, and we will have to start working on. So yes, it's coming, it's starting, and we will need to put some efforts to understand how can we make the best match between the genetic that will respond the best to these new products.
We've talked about quantitative yield, but what about quality characteristics to preserve?
Well, probably you are talking about oil and protein, if we are talking about sunflower. So definitely something that is not happening, I think, in France, at least not to a large extent, but is happening in some other markets, is that the growers are getting paid for the percentage of oil content that they deliver to the industry, or the percentage of oleic that they deliver to the industry, or sometimes they can get punished if they deliver before a certain level. So for sure it's at the best interest of the grower, and then it has to be included as a breeding target. Actually, in those markets that the growers are being paid for the oil content of the hybrids, we have seen that the percentage of oil have been grown much faster than in other markets, where the main driver for the revenue of the grower is just the kilograms of seeds that they deliver to the cooperative. So I think yes, we work for that, but mainly for those markets where these benefits or differences are being rewarded, and less in the markets where the kilograms of seeds is the main driver of the revenues. The good news is that probably HelEx will give us also some hints about where we should be working, in which part of the genomes we should be focusing on if we want to deliver both, because we know that there can be a kind of trade-off. We know that physiologically it's more expensive to create 1 gram of oil than 1 gram of yield. So we have to be sure that we are not trading off against yield, and that we find the right balance between grain yield and oil in order to maximize the revenue for the growers. So I think that is something we need to pay attention to.
And you share the same views with Cédric about what's the main drivers for the markets. I guess you don't think it's a good idea to imagine a variety dedicated to proteins, for instance?
I mean, up to today, I think I haven't heard about any specific reward on high protein or a specific protein quality. But for sure, if that is start to happen in the market, it is something that we will have to pay attention. I believe that in the case of the protein, the trade-off is much bigger than with the yield, which means that we won't be able to breed for a double purpose. We will probably need to expand our portfolio and say, look, if you want to sell protein, this is the best hybrid that you can grow. But if you still want to get 50% oil content, then you cannot have both. So unless Nicolas and his team surprise us with the new gene or the new alleles that will allow us to break this trade-off, and we can deliver both. For the moment, I think we have to make a choice there.
Let's save the questions for a bit later then. A last question before hearing another farmer through a short video. Last question. How do you revise your methods for analyzing interaction between genotype and environment on one hand, and between phenotype and environment on the other hand?
Yeah. So regarding the genotype by environment, in fact, it's been a while that we have been using what is called the genomic prediction, that is exactly using that. So it's saying, okay, we have a set of hybrids that have been tested in the past, so we generated a lot of phenotypic information in a number of environments, and then we have all the genotypes of those hybrids, and then we create something that is called a prediction equation. That is to say, when we have a new set of lines, we can predict which are going to be the ones that are going to win in the set of environments that we use. But as we said at the beginning, the environments are becoming very unpredictable, which means that probably we will have to expand the range of environments from which we are gathering the data in order to be able to predict the performance in a set of environments that will have the similar range of variation than the set that we use to create these predictions. So I think that is one way how we can revise the way that we were using environments in the past to assess the phenotypes, but also to select the genotypes that we have to put on those given environments. This is, for me, what we can do today. Probably the other shift that is happening today, at least in the breeding company where I work today, is that we are moving away from the concept of a location as a geographic place, and we are evolving into an environment definition. So it's not interesting to know which are the coordinates, but it's more interesting to know which was the environment that we hybrid we put in that place that year had to explore. So I think this way we are going to be able to be much more accurate on the predictions that we create and the selection that we make for the future.
Thanks for those first inputs. Let's hear Laurent Bourdil, who's president of the National Union of All Seed Growers. He's going to explain us the specific issues to seed multiplication.
L'ANAMSO multiplie à peu près 35 à 40 000 hectares par an de semences oléagineuses, colza, soja et tournesol. Nous sommes les premiers producteurs européens de semences oléagineuses et le premier exportateur mondial. Tout le réseau est situé actuellement sur le sud-ouest de la France, en partant de la côte atlantique en allant sur la côte de Provence. Face au changement climatique, donc nous, en termes de production, ce que l'on rencontre comme problématique principale, c'est à la fois il y a des potentiels changements de zone, puisqu'on doit adapter nos variétés à multiplier à des zones de production qui sont situées dans le sud-ouest de la France et peut-être, pourquoi pas, dans les années à venir, être un peu plus au nord. On voit bien que des surfaces de tournesol arrivent aujourd'hui autour de l'Île-de-France ou en Alsace. Donc il y a bien une adaptation de nos variétés en termes de précocité, de rusticité qui doivent être établies. Et nous, en termes de production, ça demande aussi d'adapter nos variétés dans la multiplication, puisque nous, on travaille avec un troisième élément. Il y a le multiplicateur de semences, l'établissement semencier qui amène la variété, et nous avons les pollinisateurs. Nous avons besoin des abeilles qui, elles-mêmes, permettent de transporter le pollen du mâle à la femelle. Il faut aussi que les variétés soient adaptées entre la production de pollen et la production de nectar, car c'est ça qui fait l'activité qui va attirer les abeilles à être plus actives. Donc l'adaptation doit se faire des variétés pour qu'elles s'adaptent aux écarts de température et décaler la floraison dans le temps pour éviter de passer dans les pics qu'on arrive aujourd'hui à cartographier selon les années, sur plusieurs années, pour avoir la meilleure activité possible. Parce que nous, si les abeilles ne travaillent pas, il n'y a pas de production d'hybrides et donc de production de semences pour les utilisateurs.
We had so a quick info on with Laurent. Maybe back to you, Federico. Facing those challenges, maybe if you have a quick word on the specific issues that are facing seed growers, but more globally, facing those challenges, what would be the best strategy for you? Create robust blockbuster variety for a wide range of situation, or a wide range of varieties adapted to different specific situations?
Well, yeah, I mean, for sure, the hybrids that we develop needs to be produced. So definitely, the males needs to produce pollen, and we know that it can be challenging when we have several consecutive days above 35 degrees. I think someone mentioned the conditions we have in 2022 that were way beyond that threshold, and this can be a challenge. So for sure, we will need to pay attention, and we have to be very mindful about where do we select the lines that we are going to use to produce the hybrids. If we do it in a complete different conditions than where they are going to be exposed during the large-scale production in the field, we have high risk of failure. So definitely we need to take this into consideration also for the lines that we develop. And coming back to your question about whether we need to breed blockbusters or many blockbusters for each specific environment, or hybrids that are adapted to a wider range of environments. I think I already gave some ideas about this. I think that if we go for a blockbuster for the very specific environment, we will be taking a huge risk that this very specific environment won't be there when we put the hybrid in that specific year. I think there are going to be very few very predictable environments to grow sunflower in Europe in the future. And then I think I'm more in favor of growing or breeding hybrids that are going to be adapted into a wider range of environments. For sure, we will need to find the right balance, because if we want one hybrid that will do well, will do well across the world, we will fail. We know that there is a minimum adaptation that needs to have to some range of conditions. If you go too wide, then the yield potential will get lower. So you really need to find the right balance between the specificity of the conditions where this hybrid will provide the maximum yield, and the possibility to keep this yield when you deviate from these specific conditions. So I know it's not a straightforward answer, but I think there are no straightforward answers in breeding. So yeah, this is what I can share with you today.
And considering that new markets are opening in terms of latitudes of sunflower production areas, and maybe new markets in terms of quality, new fatty acid profiles, do you think?
Yeah, I think those are always things that we pay attention, and even things that we have observed in the past. During the last, I would say, 5 years, we have seen sunflower growing in latitude. Actually, I went on vacation to Brittany a couple of years ago. I think it was exactly in 2022, and the sunflowers were looking great there. And then when I shared this with my French colleagues, they said, that's very strange. There was not sunflower in Brittany in the past, but as soon as you have hotter weather in higher latitudes, crops are following this trend. But then you have some years when you go back to historical normal conditions, like last year with a very humid autumn, and this make a kind of correction, and then the frequency of sunflower in those northern latitudes goes down again. But I think in the long term, we can expect that sunflower will be cultivated at higher latitudes. And probably what we are going to see is that we will be able to use hybrids that were bred on lower latitudes coming up to the north. This is something that we will probably see. And then moving into the second question about new fatty acid profiles, definitely I think there has been some attempts in the market to work with the high stearic type of sunflowers. That is a sunflower that could replace the palm oil in certain recipes for food. And this is something that the industry is interested about, but of course nobody wants to pay any yield drag. And what we have observed in the past is that these let's say more solid fatty acid profiles at room temperature were bringing some strong yield drags. So probably that was the main reason why this new type of fatty acid profiles didn't develop much in the past. For sure, the company that will be able to crack that and to deliver similar agronomy, similar yield, and similar oil content with the fatty acid profile that can be sold at higher price to the industry, will gain some share in the market. So definitely, it's something that is attractive for the seed companies. And if HelEx can deliver some of that, we will be happy to take.
Let's ask Nicolas. Thank you, Federico, for your inputs, your insights. And let's move on with Nicolas, who can now introduce the expected deliverables from HelEx that aims seed breeders, especially.
Yes, well, that's very. Thank you for this very nice presentation of the expected results for the breeding companies and the seed producers. In HelEx, we have three types of deliverables for these actors. Of course, as we mentioned earlier, we will provide genetic materials, so basically seeds of sunflowers that integrated these wild genes that provide tolerance and higher protein contents. Together with genetic markers, so the sequence, so the breeding companies can integrate it, evaluate if these genes are already present or not in their germplasm, and then evaluate, integrate it, and evaluate these genes and introduce them eventually in varieties. So this is one tool that I guess we all imagine. Two other things we will provide is also developing the new range of methods to phenotype the sunflowers. So nowadays, all the breeding programs use drones to image the fields and image the plants. So in HelEx, we developed this kind of tools. One that is already used in other projects, in other programs than HelEx, is to estimate the seed development and the seed humidity from drone images. So imagine you grow your sunflower field and you image it with a drone during the flowering and the seed development, and each time you can estimate if the seeds have matured, and so compare your varieties according to the environment. It's actually very interesting and useful to have this information. Non-destructive and high throughput phenotyping tool for seed maturity. And we also work on these pollinators and ecosystem services. As Laurent Bourdil introduced, it's actually also important to be tolerant for the production of nectar and the pollen, because this is mandatory to produce the seeds. And so here we develop also some imaging techniques to count the bees, different kind of bees, honeybees, bombers, and different pollinators, automatically from images, and know which genotype are more attractive, produce more pollen or more nectar during heat waves and drought. So this is the second type of tools that we provide in the project. And then I already mentioned it, but we're developing this genetic transformation methods in collaboration with a range of public actors to specifically work on the in vitro regeneration of sunflowers transformed with protoplasm transformation or organ tissue transformation.
You mentioned the pollination subject.
Yeah.
I think an article is about to be published.
Yes, so here we one article has been accepted and is about to be published in Frontiers in Plant Science that reviews the benefits of sunflowers on pollinators, health, and the impact of the climate and on the pollen and nectar production. And this is by the team collaboration between the team in Germany, in Julius Kühn Institute, Wageningen, and INRAE. And this has been announced on the journal page of Frontiers in Plant Science, and will be available very, very soon. And we also have a review of the impact of drought and heat on the production of proteins in sunflower that is submitted, that should be published in the coming month.
Have you found the key to the challenge that Federico insisted on, the trade-off between protein, oil, yield. Can we expect some breakthrough results in this matter, or not?
Yeah, well, this is so. Yeah, it's a big question. It's tricky because I don't want to sell things, but what we of course we know that when the carbon and the nitrogen arrived at the seed level, then it's then split between oil, basically, with a different range of fatty acids, proteins, and cellulose, which is mainly the hull. And so these ratios they are very important, and there are many trades-offs. So if you have no hull, you would have more diseases and insect predation, for instance. So, and this balance between protein and oil is something that is very important just for the stability of the oil bodies and the protein in the seed. So it's not something we expect to be able to dramatically switch from with one gene or with a simple solution. Mm-hmm. But nowadays with the identification of the genes that are involved into the protein storage of all the biosynthesis, oil biosynthesis genes that we did with the genome sequencing, we can imagine the right combination of these genes to have a really protein producing sunflower and oil producing sunflower. And this really helps. It's more a matter after if the market, it's a discussion, it's a dialogue between the market and the genetics, what we can do in genetics, what the market wants and what we can imagine, and put the right efforts at the right place. Okay. Today we focus on the tolerance, find the genes that allow the production of the seeds, that allow the production for the farmers in the field, and maintain this, and then this quality. We develop the tools, and we'll see if there is a market. And well, yeah.
So I understand that you're cautious but quite optimistic. Maybe.
Yes. Yeah. I think that I'm optimistic in the fact that we have many means to improve sunflower in general for many traits, disease, herbicide tolerance, yield, quality, etc. Because the genetic resources are huge, and it's as I say, we can tap this reservoir of natural variation and adaptation in the US, and so there are ongoing collaboration and with the breeding companies and the public institutes, and this is really a very active community, and I think this is the best in the continuity and in the long term to produce the sunflower varieties.
Yeah, one of the key success factor. Maybe last questions to all four of you. We've been talking about results to be produced, to be expected from HelEx. How to support deployment of those results in the field. Nicolas, you insisted when we were preparing this this webinar on this challenge, how to support deployment, because it's going to change practices. It's going to change maybe the advices given to farmers. Maybe a quick word on this matter.
Well, I can start. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I think I would like to 2 points on this. The first point is in the continuity of what I was saying. I think how to make these results that we're having now, that we're going to publish in the coming years within HelEx. How do we make them reach the field and the farmers as soon as possible? I think it's first thing is to train the future breeders in this project, in this collaborative project, because basically the students and the engineers now we have in the labs they get used to the collaboration, to the philosophy of the breeding companies, and so when they enter these breeding companies, they can implement these solutions more quickly. I think this is really one way to do it. And I think another way is also to make sure that the information and what is the tolerance, what are the trade-off, etc. This reaches the farmers. Through the registration system, we could have a sort of labels or information on the varieties that are really available to the farmers, so they make an informed choice. I think, yeah, these two points I wanted to mention.
Federico, what would be your views on this matter?
Well, in fact, I think we already have experience through previous collaborations on internalizing the outcomes of these kind of initiatives in the breeding activity, and at the end of the day, they reach the hands of the growers, having a positive impact. But something that we haven't done in the past is to make a kind of trademark of it. And Nicolas, if you want to patent HelEx as a trademark, and that we put the stamp in the bags, I think that if the benefit is big enough so that the growers will recognize it in the field, I think it's probably a good idea. But
HelEx inside.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, something like that. I mean. And some breeding companies are doing that with other type of traits, with giving some fancy names. But I think it's an interesting thing that was never done in the past, at least to my knowledge. I don't know if something that have been delivered by this type of project have been, let's say, ended up as something that the grower can recognize as a value that have been created by a collaborative effort. So it's an interesting idea. We need to understand how to implement it.
Thanks, Federico. Sylvain, back to you. Do you think farmers are expecting new ways to produce sunflowers? Are they expecting new varieties? Will they welcome these new solutions easily?
Yeah, of course, they are very quick to breed some new varieties. You know, each year we are waiting for new inscriptions, and we agronomists and with our farmer, we realize a lot of trials so each year. So it's not a problem. When we have the new varieties, they are really quick to plant it. So I'm not afraid of that, and I'm very happy with the responses of Federico, especially with. He well understand the need on the early plant, early vigor, and so of course of drought tolerance. So I'm not afraid, and farmers are ready.
Thanks. And Cédric, last questions for you. Do you think you'll be able to market, to label maybe these new ways of producing sunflower or new varieties?
So first, I agree with Sylvain that when the farmers see a clear benefit of new varieties, they are jumping on it very often. So I'm not so afraid on that. Sunflower oil is a commodity market. Nevertheless, as Sylvain mentioned, we have some room to bring more values to the farmer. It's what Saipol is doing. We are at between the upstream and downstream sectors. We are working on that with 2BSVS certification on oil under let's say low GS referentials, and it's also a way to bring value to the upstream and to bring to make the changes faster. And another market that can also push for earlier varieties or varieties with a very strong vigor is, as Sylvain mentioned, emerging market of sustainable aviation fuel with very early varieties used as a secondary crop. And for those specific varieties, for this specific market, we will have the same needs as the sunflower main crop with respect to these aspects that the early vigor and the has to be very, very, very high, very good. Sorry,
you are on mute, Pierre.
Mike.
You were on mute.
I was saying, it happens to the better ones. I was saying, Nicolas, do you need to share with us a last word, because you are the chief of HelEx?
Well, first of all, I would like to answer to Federico and Cédric about this, this room for more high value sunflower and sort of labels. We are really keen on this kind of ideas, in fact, and to have a sustainable, more sustainable and climate smart sunflower, thanks to HelEx and all the projects that are collaborative projects between public and private. So as a final word, I want to mention that HelEx is running until 2027, and so you'll have opportunities to follow the results of the project in the coming years. It's it's really part of a larger collaboration between the as I said, public and private actors. So the international breeding companies, international academic labs, and the technical institutes, some representatives of the breeders, of the downstream oil market, etc. So there is a very active community to match the resource for research and the needs for the society in general. And HelEx is part of it, and but we're really proud to participate in these larger things. And so these results with HelEx will be of course integrated as soon as possible into the partners' results and varieties, but it will be made available to the entire community because this is European public funded, and this is mandatory to publish it and make it available. So keep on track, keep updated on the results, and if you want to know more about the project, you can contact me and the team from RN20 for the communication. And yeah,
and you can join the stakeholder HelEx network. We'll have a short survey just after that to give you and to share your contact details. And you can share your comments and impressions. You think the short satisfaction questionnaire. I'm talking to you, the attendees. Thank you. You were more than 50. We were more than 50 together this morning. So thank you, and long live sunflowers. And see you soon. Thanks to you all. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.